The real estate market in China is still stuck in a downturn that has been going on for several years, which has seriously undermined people's confidence in the Chinese economy. In China, rising real estate prices have been a major source of wealth accumulation for many years. Official data shows that residential sales in major cities across the country have decreased and housing prices have fallen. Among China's top-tier large real estate companies, Evergrande has filed for bankruptcy and Country Garden is approaching default indefinitely. In terms of consumption, the year-on-year growth rate of total retail sales of consumer goods slowed to 2.5% in July, and overall consumer inflation has been negative. The youth unemployment rate, aged 18 to 24, reached a record high of 21.3% in June, and the data has been suspended since July. On Wednesday, the offshore US dollar to renminbi was trading at around 7.34 yuan, and the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate approached the historical low of 7.38 yuan set in October last year. As the People's Bank of China lowered multiple interest rate indicators on Tuesday, the market generally believes that the renminbi will continue to face depreciation pressure. Exports have declined, foreign investment has dried up, and overall employment is weak. In my personal experience, almost none of my friends around me have considered buying a house. There are quite a few properties listed for sale, but there are also few transactions because the price has dropped repeatedly, which is much lower than the psychological expectations of the original seller. It can be said that the Chinese people, especially those with property, have greatly lost their confidence in the future income prospects and the stability and value of their main investment asset, housing, and may even permanently lose their confidence after 3 years of COVID-19 pandemic and continuous pressure on the real estate industry. Ordinary Chinese people have started to save crazily, refuse to buy a house, and even try their best to repay their loans in advance. The stock of personal housing mortgage loans in China has experienced a comprehensive decline in the fourth quarter of 2022 and the second quarter of 2023, which did not even occur at the end of 2014 and early 2015 when the decline in real estate prices became more severe, according to data from the central bank. In the second quarter of this year's survey of urban depositors, about 58% of respondents expressed a preference for increasing savings deposits, which is slightly lower than the 62% in December 2022, but has increased by nearly 15 percentage points compared to mid-2019. Only 24.5% of respondents tend to increase consumption. Faced with a sudden economic slowdown, neither the central bank's interest rate cuts nor the policies of local governments promoting consumption and home purchases seem to have a significant impact on the economic recovery. At this moment, it is worth recalling what strategies propelled the Chinese economy at the beginning of reform and opening up. In June 1986, the National People's Congress promulgated the Land Management Law, which clearly stipulated that state-owned land and collectively owned land can be determined for individual use in accordance with the LAW. In August 1998, the National People's Congress revised the Land Management Law, continuing to provide detailed provisions for the right to land use. Land use rights can be transferred in accordance with the law. The ownership and use rights of land registered in accordance with the law are protected by law, and no unit or individual may infringe upon them. The clarity and protection of individuals' right to obtain state-owned land use rights for compensation is the starting point for creating billions of dollars in wealth for the Chinese people facing the risk of deflation. Revising laws and protecting property rights is the most effective confidence boost. Once inflation turns into deflation and causes people to lose permanent confidence, the consequences are unimaginable and unbearable. At this critical moment, responsible politicians are needed to quickly distribute shopping vouchers, consumption vouchers, and cash to the public, and quickly reduce the real interest rates of housing, car, and business loans to 0% in order to quickly promote private consumption. At the same time, expanding the issuance rights of local government bonds can ensure zero default by local governments, fundamentally resolve the debt crisis, and clarify the independent status of local governments and law. In order to permanently solve the occurrence of local debt crises, establishing an official readies fund to raise global capital for the comprehensive acquisition of urban residential properties, with a massive supply of affordable housing, can promote the entry of rural populations into urban life and continue to deepen the development of high-quality urbanization. Correspondingly, the property rights of rural land can be clarified through laws, and the right to transfer can be clarified to achieve the transferability of rural land. In this way, the rent of low-rent housing will be guaranteed, and the remaining agricultural land can achieve intensive and large-scale operation. For the crisis of urban housing, if the land use right has changed from 70 years to permanent and protected by legislation, it will greatly reshape people's confidence in purchasing houses. The feasibility of recharging land use fees after the expiration of 70 years of residential use rights is negligible, and legislation should be considered to clarify it. I hope that the Chinese economy can go further on the historical path of the property rights system, in order to truly effectively boost the economic confidence of the people.